I carried a silver tray with our favorite champagne into the huge honeymoon suite. I was so happy, ready to surprise Liam, my new husband. We had just had the biggest, most perfect wedding. I opened the door gently, ready to whisper a joke, but the sweet smile on my face immediately broke. My entire world stopped turning. Liam was not alone. He was tightly holding my sister, Audrey, in a passionate embrace. They were kissing, and it was clear they were more than just friends. Audrey looked straight over Liam's shoulder and saw me standing there. She smiled a cruel, cold smile. "He married you for the wedding, Esther," she said, her voice completely hard and full of spite. "But he'll be spending the night with his real soulmate." They didn't even look back as they turned and walked out, holding hands. My legs felt weak, and I collapsed on the cold, expensive floor. The sound of the door closing was the loudest, most painful sound I had ever heard. The next day, I had to completely clean out Liam's desk at our apartment. I moved slowly, feeling completely numb, like I was moving underwater. I wanted to pack all his things and forget he had ever existed in my life. As I sorted through his sloppy desk drawers, my hand touched a thick, important-looking folder. It was the prenup I had made him sign. I was a very smart, promising law student at the time, and I had created the entire document myself. Liam, being arrogant and completely sure of my simple love for him, had signed it without even reading the important details. I traced my finger over a section I had named the Phoenix Clause. This was a special, terrible infidelity clause. It said that if either of us cheated, the cheated party would get 100% of all marital assets. But the real power was the second part. I would also get 50% of the cheating party's premarital assets. Liam had signed away half of everything he owned just to marry me. This contract was no longer just a legal paper. It was now my secret, powerful weapon. My parents immediately insisted on a very tense family dinner. They hoped to make things better and keep the peace, but the air was thick with anger and sadness. Liam and Audrey arrived late, looking completely happy and completely innocent. They did not apologize for the massive public betrayal. They acted like they were doing me a huge favor by just showing up. The food was cold, and no one spoke loudly. Then Audrey stood up. She smiled brightly at our shocked family, and then looked straight at me. "We have big news," she announced loudly. "I'm pregnant." My parents gasped in shock. Liam and Audrey immediately called the pregnancy a blessing from a complicated situation. They tried to make it sound like fate had brought them together, even if it hurt me. This surprise announcement forced my poor family to quickly accept their new relationship because of the innocent new baby. It completely isolated me, making me feel alone and like the crazy, angry sister. I sat completely alone in my room that night. I could hear Audrey talking on the phone softly in the hallway. I pressed my ear to the door to listen. She was bragging to a friend about her massive success. "It was the only way to get him," she whispered excitedly. "I designed everything from the very first date. He was never truly yours, Esther." Her words were cruel, but they finally cleared the huge fog in my brain. This was not a simple accident or a simple mistake of the heart. This was a calculated plot by my own sister to ruin my life and take my future. This was not simple heartbreak, it was a huge, cruel war. My anger turned into a cold, powerful resolve. I promised myself I would use the Phoenix Clause. But I would not use it yet. I would wait until they had built a huge, expensive life together. I would wait until their life was worth taking completely. I knew I could not stay in that house or that town anymore. Every street, every photo, every room reminded me of the happy, false life I had lost. I told my grieving parents that I had to leave now. "I can't stay here," I explained simply. "I can't watch Audrey live her sweet life that she completely stole from me." They hugged me tightly and cried, but they let me go. I quickly packed a few bags. I immediately changed my phone number, permanently deleted all my social media, and cut off all my old friends. I simply vanished. I wanted everyone, especially Liam and Audrey, to completely believe I was just a broken girl, too defeated and too hurt to ever fight back. They thought I was gone forever, crying somewhere. But I was actually just starting my long, secret preparation for my huge return. 5 long years went by like 5 months. I was no longer the sad, broken victim. I was a sharp, very successful corporate strategist. I had a new, completely powerful focus and a new name, Estella North. No one in my new, powerful life knew about the painful betrayal, or the big wedding. I had carefully hidden all the old Esther. I had strategically taken a job at Apex Corp, a huge, ruthless competitor to Liam's quickly growing business. This job was not just a career move, it was my perfect watchtower. It gave me complete, direct access to the entire business world, and let me watch their lives from a comfortable, quiet distance. I was completely invisible, completely successful, and completely patient. The huge, perfect trap was being built, brick by hard brick. My first move was quiet, professional, and very effective. Because I had spent years with Liam, I knew every single hidden detail of his business, his entire key strategy, and his huge weaknesses. Using my complete insider knowledge at Apex Corp, I anonymously created a fake, detailed plan, and leaked it to Apex's entire sales team. The plan completely undercut Liam's company on a massive bid. Apex Corp immediately won the huge major contract, stealing it directly from Liam's company. This was the first big account Liam's company had ever lost, and I knew it would hurt his massive, fragile pride. The loss was not big enough to destroy them yet, but it was enough to make the entire company stumble and cause huge problems. It was the first crack in the perfect life they had built. It was the first small taste of my revenge, and it felt so sweet and amazing. I kept a constant, close eye on Liam and Audrey using a reliable private investigator. I learned they were completely obsessed with living a lavish life. They bought expensive clothes and took fancy vacations, but they were actually very cash poor. They were spending way too much money, more than Liam's struggling business could ever support. This was my second, perfect, crucial move. I anonymously tipped off a high-end, luxury real estate agent. I told the agent that Liam was urgently looking for a massive, expensive mansion that was completely out of his budget. I knew Liam's arrogance and Audrey's huge, public pride would quickly force them to buy the huge, fancy house, just to prove their massive success to everyone. They immediately bought the house, plunging them into huge, crushing debt. They were completely trapped in a gilded cage that I was building around them. Their huge pride was their single, greatest weakness. The huge, expensive mansion immediately meant a massive mortgage payment, and Liam's struggling business was suddenly facing huge, high operational costs. This was the perfect, crucial time for my next powerful move. I immediately created a complex web of anonymous shell companies, all completely hidden from my new, professional identity. One of these fake, quiet companies quickly approached Liam with a massive, tempting offer. It was a completely too good to be true loan that would completely cover his huge new mansion's mortgage and fund his expanding business needs. Liam, completely desperate for quick money and blinded by the huge, sweet deal, immediately signed the papers. The loan's terms were crippling and highly complicated, designed to completely strangle his business slowly until it died. Liam thought he was getting a powerful lifeline, but he was actually just wrapping himself tighter in my massive web of debt. I was quietly pulling the puppet strings of his entire financial world, and he had no idea. The constant stress from the quickly failing business, the massive debt, and the quickly strained marriage finally started to completely break Liam. He became sloppy and completely predictable. My private investigator immediately started sending reports that Liam was looking for simple, cheap solace elsewhere. He was seen openly flirting with young, attractive female associates after late work meetings. He was looking for easy comfort and validation that he wasn't getting at home with Audrey. I smiled faintly when I read the detailed reports. I knew this terrible personal flaw was his true biggest weakness, and it was the single, most powerful key to activating the entire Phoenix Clause. The prenup required hard, clear infidelity for me to take absolutely everything. Liam was not only walking into my financial trap, but he was also completely walking into the absolute legal trap. I needed more than just simple flirting reports. I urgently needed hard, undeniable proof of his infidelity. I had to plant the final, perfect seed of temptation directly in his path. I immediately looked for the perfect person within Apex Corp, my own company. I found Maya, a brilliant, highly ambitious young woman who was completely eager for a quick, huge promotion and a lot of money. I immediately tasked her with a completely secret mission. She had to completely go undercover, create a completely fake identity, and get a job as a marketing consultant at Liam's struggling company. Her entire, simple mission was to completely get close to him, and to document everything that happened between them. She was my perfect, powerful pawn on the huge corporate chessboard. I carefully instructed her to make Liam feel completely seen and completely appreciated. Everything Audrey had completely stopped doing long ago. The final trap was completely baited and set, waiting for him to fall. Maya succeeded completely and brilliantly, just as I planned. She quickly became Liam's most trusted confidant at work, the person he completely turned to for support. I carefully monitored their slow, growing emotional affair through encrypted, secret messages and daily reports from Maya. She detailed every single late night in the office, every single complaint he made about Audrey, and every single time he praised her sharp mind and her beautiful, kind looks. The emotional bond was quickly and completely forming. The line between professional trust and completely personal affection was blurring rapidly. I was collecting more than just hard evidence. I was collecting all the emotional context that would make the entire betrayal completely undeniable in the courtroom. The entire trap was not only set, the sharp hook was firmly planted in his arrogant heart. I knew it was only a very short time before he would cross the final line. I had completely cut off my old family, but my dear mother found my LinkedIn profile under my new, professional name. She reached out with a small, heartfelt message, completely begging me to please come home. She told me about my niece Sophia. She was a sweet, extremely lonely child, completely caught in the constant middle of Audrey and Liam's terrible, loud fights. My heart completely ached with sharp pain for the little girl. Sophia was completely innocent in this brutal, massive war. My mother revealed that Audrey and Liam's life was a complete disaster, filled with constant, loud arguments over huge money problems and Liam's recent, bad business decisions. I felt a huge, powerful pang of guilt. My quiet vengeance was destroying their lives, but it was also hurting an innocent child I truly loved. I knew I had to completely speed up my plan to end the entire painful situation quickly, and give Sophia the peace she desperately deserved. My silent, constant sabotage was finally having its complete, devastating effect. Liam's business was now completely on the brink of massive, total collapse. The huge, secret loan I had given him was now causing him massive, severe financial pressure. He desperately needed a huge cash infusion to completely avoid a massive, total default. In a final, huge, desperate move, he completely reached out to a completely shady investor for a massive, immediate loan. He thought he was saving his entire company, but the entire transaction was a perfect setup. The huge, shady investor was, in fact, another one of my anonymous shell companies. The loan was massive, completely secret, and it came with absolutely crippling terms that were completely designed to fail. I now completely controlled every single aspect of Liam's entire financial world. He had just signed away his last, desperate chance at survival to the very person who had been quietly destroying him. The crucial moment finally arrived, timed perfectly. Maya sent me a completely secure, encrypted message with a short video attachment. It was the complete final smoking gun. The video showed Liam clearly kissing her in a completely empty office after hours. But the video was not the only thing. Maya sent me a full, powerful audio recording of their entire, long conversation. In the recording, Liam was completely honest and completely distraught. "I think I made a massive mistake with Audrey," he confessed completely. "She's not the woman I thought she was. She's completely manipulative. And Sophia, she doesn't even completely look like me." That final, completely offhand comment completely froze me in my tracks. It wasn't just about simple infidelity anymore. It strongly suggested a much deeper, much more massive betrayal that I had never even imagined in my worst nightmares. Audrey's entire life was a massive lie. Liam's small, completely offhand comment about Sophia's looks completely ignited a new, massive fire in my gut. I immediately realized the simple infidelity might just be a symptom of a much bigger, much darker bloodline lie. I immediately ordered my private investigator to do a massive, deep background check on Audrey from the last decade. At the same time, I discreetly arranged for a secret DNA test to be performed on a small, discarded water bottle of Sophia's that my mother had secretly given me. The wait for the final results was pure agony. When the secure report finally arrived, my hands were completely shaking as I opened it. The result was clear, shocking, and absolutely devastating. Liam was not the father of the sweet little girl he completely believed was his own daughter. Audrey had completely built their entire massive life on a foundation of a simple, dark, powerful lie. Her plan was even more cruel than I had thought. The deep investigation into Audrey's past immediately revealed the true, complete picture. The true biological father of Sophia was Jasper, Liam's former best man and his most trusted business partner. Audrey had a quick, completely secret fling with Jasper just before she set her cold, calculating sights on Liam and the wedding. She used the pregnancy to completely cement her powerful, complete hold on Liam, ensuring he would never leave her when he found out the truth. She had manipulated every single person in our family, including Jasper, who had absolutely no idea he was the true father of the child. I felt a huge wave of powerful disgust. The level of manipulation was completely mind-blowing, evil and cruel. I knew then that my revenge had to completely destroy the two of them, Audrey for her sheer evil, and Liam for his huge, massive foolishness. The storm was now completely gathering its final, full, brutal power. I knew the time was completely perfect. I immediately consolidated all my powerful hard evidence. I had the complete financial records of my quiet sabotage, the video and audio proof of Liam's infidelity, the cold, hard paternity test results, and the original signed devastating Phoenix Clause prenup. I was completely armed with absolute, undeniable proof of betrayal, deceit, and massive financial ruin. I was no longer just an angry former wife. I was a powerful, successful corporate executive with a complete, perfect legal case. I immediately hired the most ruthless lawyer in the city, a woman named Vivian Hale, known for her cold, simple, brutal efficiency. I handed her the complete, massive file. I want everything back, I told her simply and clearly. And I want them completely ruined and destroyed. The long, quiet preparation was finally over. The final battle was about to completely begin in court. After a decade of complete silence and being invisible, I finally walked back into Liam's office. I had completely planned my appearance perfectly down to the second. I wore a sharp, custom-made suit, and I walked with an air of complete, quiet power and icy vengeance. I was no longer the broken, weeping girl he had left on the floor. Liam looked up from his messy desk, completely shocked and completely pale with fear. He immediately recognized me, despite my new professional name. He tried to speak, but no clear words came out. I didn't say a single simple word. I simply walked up to his desk and slammed the thick, heavy divorce papers and the original, signed prenup right onto his desk with a loud thud. I want you and Audrey to completely vacate the premises, I stated clearly, my voice cold and steady. All of them. You have exactly 30 days to be gone. I looked at him one last time, turned around slowly, and completely walked out, leaving him completely shattered and alone. Liam and Audrey were completely thrown into immediate, total hysterics. At first, they laughed loudly at the papers, calling my move a simple, pathetic bluff and a desperate attempt at blackmail. She's broken crazy, Liam. Audrey yelled loudly. But their huge, arrogant laughter immediately died when their own cold, professional lawyer immediately read the devastating Phoenix Clause. They learned the brutal, cold truth. I was legally entitled to 100% of all their marital assets, including their huge, fancy mansion, plus 50% of Liam's premarital wealth, which included a huge portion of his struggling company. The cold realization finally dawned on them. I completely owned their entire house, their massive cars, and half of everything Liam had ever worked for. The beautiful, lavish life they had completely stolen from me was now completely mine to take back. Audrey, completely cornered and completely desperate, immediately launched a massive counterattack in the court of public opinion. She quickly went on a local news program, weeping loudly and dramatically, completely playing the pathetic victim. She painted me as a completely jealous, vindictive sister who was trying to brutally destroy her happy, beautiful family out of simple spite and anger. She even brought sweet Sophia on camera, making the poor child look terrified and completely innocent. For a short time, the court of public opinion completely turned against me. People on social media called me a cruel, cold monster. I knew I had to act fast to completely regain control of the entire narrative before the judge made his final ruling. I had the complete, whole truth, and it was much more powerful than Audrey's pathetic tears and desperate lies. My lawyer, Vivian Hale, immediately executed the next move with swift precision. She completely released a short, carefully edited video to her own legal team's massive social media accounts. The video was brutally simple and completely devastating. It showed two crucial things clearly. First, it showed the complete audio of Audrey's cruel real soulmate line from the honeymoon, proving her years-long cold plot to everyone. Second, it showed the clear video of Liam's infidelity with Maya. The video completely exposed their entire, huge life as a massive, carefully constructed lie built on betrayal and deceit. The entire public tide immediately turned violently against them. The sympathy for Audrey completely vanished, replaced by huge, powerful disgust and anger. The public now saw them for who they truly were. Two greedy, ruthless, lying people. In the first pretrial hearing, Liam and Audrey's lawyer immediately argued that the original prenup was signed under duress, claiming Liam was completely too drunk and too much in love to really understand the brutal, cold terms. The lawyer claimed the entire document was completely invalid and should be thrown out. When it was my lawyer's turn, she didn't even argue. Vivian Hale simply stood up, looked straight at the stern judge, and played the complete audio of Audrey bragging loudly to her friend about how she designed everything to completely take Liam and his huge money. The audio completely filled the quiet, massive courtroom with Audrey's own cruel voice. The sound was loud, clear, and absolutely devastating to their case. Audrey's own voice completely sealed their terrible fate. The judge simply leaned back in his big chair. The argument of duress completely collapsed on the spot. The moment of the complete, final destruction came when Audrey was on the stand. She was completely weeping, completely playing the pathetic victim, desperately begging the judge for mercy. She looked weak and completely defeated. Then my lawyer Vivian Hale stood up for the final, last crucial question. She walked slowly to the large podium and calmly presented the hard, cold evidence, the paternity test report. Your Honor, she said simply and clearly, we submit Exhibit K, conclusive proof that the petitioner, Liam, is not the biological father of the minor child, Sophia. The entire courtroom completely erupted into gasps and shouts. Liam's face went completely white with pure, unadulterated horror and shock. He slowly turned his head, looking first at Audrey with absolute hatred, and then at Jasper, his former best man and business partner, sitting completely pale in the gallery. The entire massive betrayal was now public and completely undeniable. The total collapse was swift and absolute. As a part of the final settlement, I executed the most powerful final blow. I completely formally transferred the massive crippling debt from the completely shady loan, the one I secretly owned, directly to Liam personally. The huge, insurmountable debt immediately bankrupted him completely. There was absolutely no way out for him, not one. Then my current company, Apex Corp., where I was now a top powerful executive, formally acquired the remnants of his struggling bankrupt company for mere pennies on the dollar. The entire business he had built, the one that had funded his lavish life with Audrey, was now completely under my powerful direct control. I had not only taken all his massive assets, I had completely destroyed his massive career and his entire financial future. The revenge was complete. The devastating divorce was officially finalized. Liam was left with absolutely nothing but a massive, insurmountable mountain of cold, crushing debt, and a totally destroyed reputation. Audrey was completely exposed as a liar and a fraud to every single person she knew. Her entire social circle immediately abandoned her completely. They immediately lost the huge mansion, the expensive cars, and all their remaining dignity. They were forced to leave the beautiful, perfect life they had stolen and move into a small, cramped, cheap apartment. Their beautiful, cruel dream had completely turned into a massive, bitter nightmare. I felt no simple joy in their suffering, only the quiet, powerful satisfaction of absolute justice being completely served. They had tried to completely burn me to the ground, but they had only created the perfect conditions for me to rise. With the corporate war completely won and over, I quickly turned my attention back to my real family. My parents were completely horrified by the massive scope of Audrey's lies, and immediately begged for my complete forgiveness for ever supporting her. The family fracture was slowly, carefully mending. Most importantly, I focused all my attention on sweet Sophia. She was completely bewildered by the sudden huge change in her life, but she was finally out of the constant toxic environment of her parents' screaming matches. I completely formed a tentative, powerful, caring relationship with her. I knew she was completely innocent, and she deserved complete love and stability. I became the steady, quiet aunt who provided the strong, reliable presence she had never truly had before. My victory was not just about revenge. It was also about completely saving an innocent life from the terrible wreckage. A year quickly passed. The entire storm was now completely over and gone. I was now the completely new, powerful CEO of Apex Corp, the very company that had completely crushed Liam's business. I was being interviewed by a major financial magazine about my stunning success and my meteoric rise in the corporate world. I was poised, powerful, and finally at complete peace. My life was completely unrecognizable from the day I had collapsed on the cold floor of the honeymoon suite. I had used my sharp legal mind and my deep, terrible pain to become the most powerful, most respected person in my entire industry. I smiled easily for the camera. The pain was still a part of my past, but it no longer defined my entire future in any way. In a quick final scene, I received a completely anonymous update from my former private investigator. The image was grainy, but the picture was completely clear and undeniable. It showed Audrey and Liam living in a small, cramped, cheap apartment in a rundown part of the city. They were completely and utterly trapped together. They were screaming constantly at each other, their faces filled with massive, absolute hatred. They had no money, no power, and absolutely no way out of the crippling debt I had legally placed on them. The cruel love they had used to completely betray me was now a powerful, suffocating prison of their own making. They were suffering the ultimate, perfect karma. They had stolen happiness, and now they had completely lost everything, including their own deep respect for each other. I was sitting in my beautiful, minimalist penthouse apartment, the entire city lights twinkling below me like stars. I was quietly reading a bedtime story to Sophia, who was completely snuggled peacefully beside me. She finally had the safe, loving, quiet life she completely deserved. I closed the book, kissed her small head softly, and looked out at the powerful cityscape. I remembered Audrey's cruel, cold words from that terrible long-ago night. They thought they could completely break me. I thought to myself, a serene, quiet smile spreading across my face. But they completely forgot. From the hot ashes a phoenix rises. And I rose. And I took absolutely everything back. My revenge was complete, powerful, and completely quiet. I was no longer the victim. I was the phoenix, and I had won.